Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another overview of the features coming to EU4 with the 1.31 update and the Leviathan expansion. Last time we focused on Indonesia, and today we'll be focusing on Australia and Polynesia. From my research into the dev diaries, it looks to me like everything you see in this video will be absolutely free and part of the 1.31 update, not the Leviathan expansion. But before we get into that, just a quick announcement that we now know that the release date for the expansion and update will be April 27th. Also, if you want to see more updates like this, then leaving a like lets me know what kind of content you want to enjoy. And of course, I have two previous videos like this one which are still up to date if you want to go ahead and take a look at those. Now, let's start with the changes coming to Australia. Australia has been updated to include about 43 provinces and 11 states in total, a massive increase from before. And what's best is that the entire continent is now navigable on foot. You won't have to use ships just to reach the other end anymore. Australian provinces now have a higher chance of spawning gold when colonized, and some of the ones down south also have a higher chance of netting you some gems. That's enough with the map changes, so let's get into some of the new tags you'll be able to play as in the land down under. I'll be highlighting the nations which have unique national ideas, but keep in mind there are more tags to explore as well. At any point, of course, feel free to pause and read these idea sets, as I will only be covering them very briefly. On the top end, we have Laurakia, whose ideas start off with some trade bonuses and eventually gain core cost reduction. And we also have Tiwi, whose ideas are heavily focused on the military and decreasing unrest. Down in the Sydney area, we have Eora, whose ideas are heavily focused on a strong navy. In the Adelaide region are the Kaurna people, who focus mainly on tall ideas but also gain 20% CCR at the end. In Tasmania are the Palawa, who focus on strong military ideas and conquest. And finally, the Kamilaroi, who are a mixed blend of ideas for both tall and wide playstyles. The other Australian tags will have generic Aboriginal ideas, which are a little bit underwhelming to say the least. Surprisingly, a lot of these tags have core cost reduction, which I find pretty interesting. CCR is a somewhat rare idea and is often reserved for hordes and formidable nations. But for some reason, we see these tags actually pretty well suited for a world conquest with ideas like this. I wonder why that is. Anyway, let's move on to the new religion coming to 1.31, known as Alcharinga. The different faiths in Australia have been simplified for gameplay purposes, but to encapsulate the different deities into one system, the mechanics work similarly to that of Fetishist. New stories, as they're called, can be unlocked through various missions. From building a ship to conquest, you'll be able to unlock different bonuses. However, we unfortunately don't get to see these missions yet, and we can just sort of guess as to what kind of bonuses you can have. Just as a final addendum, these Aboriginal Australian tags will also be part of their own tech group. Now, that's all we have for Australia. Let's move on to Polynesia, starting with New Zealand and some of the concerns I have about it. Now, New Zealand has, for some reason or another, only received one extra province from what I can tell, while also receiving 7 new tags, 6 of which are in the North Island. This leaves only 2 provinces in the Southern Island which can be colonized, which is a little bit odd in my opinion. It doesn't leave very much room for colonization, and so you'll actually have to conquest these tags if you want to get anywhere. As for the tags themselves, my guess is that they will have to have a government type unlike that of the North American tags, because migration is pretty much impossible. All that aside, we don't have very much more information about New Zealand, but we do know that there will be a formidable tag known as Aotearoa, sorry if I mispronounced that, and we also have a set of Maori ideas. These are all shared collectively among the tags in New Zealand and are fairly well-rounded ideas. Somewhat focused towards warfare, but nothing particularly stands out other than the 10% core cost reduction at the end. Moving north, we have the Fiji Archipelago, which has been split into 3 provinces, each with a different tribe inhabiting them. If you unite these islands, you'll be able to form the tag of Viti. The Fijian idea set is shared by all of the tribes, and they're formidable, and consists of very expansionist ideas, with a high naval presence and missionary strength. To the east lies the Samoan and Tongan archipelagos, These are the first tags we see actual mission trees for, and allows us to take a closer look at what the missions for the Polynesian tags might look like. I would love to go into more detail, but we don't actually have that much to go off of with these missions. We know so far that Tonga and Samoa will have unique branches in the center. Both branches involve fighting each other and claiming hegemony over the Pacific. The other branches are generic for the Polynesian tags, and some are even borrowed from the Americas. What I'm mainly seeing though are generic missions for most nations, but considering the very unique situation the Polynesians find themselves at the beginning, I really do hope to see more come from their mission trees. The last part of the map we have to cover today is Hawaii. In the current patch, Hawaii is a single province, while in 1.31 it will be split into 4 different provinces, each with a unique tag. The unifier of the island chain will be rewarded with a formable tag, presumably by the name of Hawaii. Now, I just have to address the elephant in the room. How the hell are you supposed to expand as Hawaii, and how are you supposed to conquer Hawaii? They have no connections to other islands by sea zone, so unless something changes, you're no better than landlocked at the beginning until you can start colonizing. And on the flip side of that, now you can't colonize Hawaii, so I'm kind of confused about how you're supposed to conquer them. I'm not exactly sure how the whole thing is supposed to play out. But anyway, we don't have any other information for the ideas or the missions for Hawaii, so that is everything we have left. There is a little bit more to explore though for the Polynesia region, because there are apparently over 40 new events added in for Polynesian culture tags. There are a couple of teasers, so let's get through them. This living target event has a chance to give your heir 1 military monarch power. When Ku demands a sacrifice, there are a couple of outcomes depending on your, quote, situation. No idea what this means specifically, but at worst, this can take your heir away from you. And the Fa Matai system can give you some temporary stability cost modifier. The developer behind this part of the update encourages us to try and do a world conquest as one of these tags, as there are apparently some unique things that will help us along with that journey. By that, I'm guessing there are some really interesting events hiding in this new update. And on top of all of that, there will also be a new tech group for the Polynesian nations, which starts off at Tech 2 instead of Tech 3. Undoubtedly, there will be some things that I've missed, and probably some more stuff being announced over the next few weeks. But as of right now, this is everything we know about Australia and Polynesia coming to 1.31. Thank you so much for watching. This is Quarbit signing off, and as always, have a fantastic day. I'd like to take a second to thank all of the patrons for the month of March, starting with the ones we have in the General tier: Quiet Guy, Brennan Arsenault, Ben Greenhagen, Torvald, Dire Avenger, and Farron. Those we have in the Prince tier: Snow Raven, Rockbox 2020, and Robert Colino. Those we have in the King tier: Chewy Shoot and Natsuki. In the Elector tier, we have TFLJ Martis. And in the Conqueror of Worlds tier, we have The Watcher. Thank you guys so much for your pledges this month. It means a lot to me, and I truly cannot thank you guys enough.